Hey guys, hi YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna do a story time video for you guys. I've seen a lot of these videos and I thought they were interesting and some are really funny. So I want to do one of my own. This is something that happened to me several years ago. I was young, I was in college, and really didn't care too much about things. So I signed up for a dating site. And at the time, it wasn't a big deal. Like all the stuff you see online about people scamming people wasn't too much of an issue. Like it wasn't like something that was, let me uh, close the blinds here because the lighting is too much. So it wasn't a big deal like things on the news about people scamming people and things like that. So I signed up online. I think one of my friends had met somebody online or something like that. So I signed up, just out of curiosity. I was like, let me sign up, and see what happens. At the time in college, I really didn't care too much for a relationship, and I really didn't even know what I want. So for me, it was kind of like a fun thing to do. So I took my pictures and all that, and I set it up, and I started getting messages. And honestly, I didn't respond to too many people because I was like, oh, I'm just checking this out. Like, who really cares? So after a while, I was browsing through. I was like, let's see what's out there. Um, and I was browsing, and I came across this guy's page. The page, he looked like he was on the beach. He was this kind of an attractive, young, not young actually, maybe somebody who was like in 30s, 35 kind of age range at the time, kind of with his shirt off. And he was on the beach, and he had shades on. So I really was like curious. I was like, he was a white guy. And something about him just kind of was like, okay, this picture doesn't look too fake, to me. So basically, I browsed by his page and, left, just browsed and didn't say anything. So a couple minutes later, I got a message, and he was like, oh, like basically kind of like, hey, you're browsing my page, how are you doing, blah, 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 you're attractive. I want to talk to you, and things like that. So I was like, I'm not going to respond, and I was just like, I'm playing around, who cares, right? So he sent me a message, and for some reason, later on, I did respond because I was like, oh, hi, I was just browsing by your page, whatever, it's not anything. So he was like, he was like, oh, well, I'm curious to know more about you and things like that. So I got really excited. I was like, oh, really? You're curious about me? This is somebody, imagine I'm young and you're young, you're supposed to have fun and kind of don't care too much about anything and things like that. So I got really, I started like, okay, I'm just going to answer, like play around with him. Like, who cares, right? So we started talking, and weeks went by, and pretty much he said, oh, let's go chat on this app. There was an app. Well, I don't even know if it was an app at the time. It was some site where you could chat without showing your phone number. So I was like, sure, we can do that. There's no problem. I guess that way I keep all my information safe and things like that. So we were talking almost daily. He would check on me, like how is work and how is school and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. People can really get to you, especially when they try to kind of care about your day. Like that's one thing, that women are just like, oh my God, a guy that checks on you at least every so often and says, how's your day going and things like that. You're just like, oh my God. Okay. So for me, I felt important. I really was like, oh, this guy's really into me. So yeah, he kept checking on me and things like that. We started talking more and more often. Like late nights, I would be chatting with him and things like that. And so I was like, okay, let me have your phone number so we can, I want to have your phone number so I know, like, I need some more information, before we kind of like, continue this, because I was like, okay, I'm not just gonna waste my time chatting with you on a behind a computer screen. Like, I need to know more about you. So he was like, okay, well, I can't give you my phone number because I work for, due to privacy issues. So he told me basically he was working kind of like an army thing or something going on. I don't know, some thing with the military. So I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I said, okay, fine. I need to see a video or something of you so I know who I'm talking to. And he was like, well, I can't do that either for privacy issues. So I was like, okay, what's going on? That was my first kind of red flag, but I threw it out because I didn't really care too much at the time. And I was like, oh, well, who cares? I'm not looking for to be married or anything, or yeah. So he was like, yeah, but we can continue chatting this way, and I want to get to know you, like I'm really into you and things like that. So I was like, okay. So I sent him a few pictures of me, like my face, like this is how I look. I always try to be honest, like, okay, this is me. I'm not, skinny or things like I was just trying to be more honest. So I sent a few pictures and he was like, oh, okay. So I asked him, I want to see a pictures of him, more pictures of him if he has them. He sent me like three pictures. One, he's wearing his uniform in the military. Some other one, he was, I don't know, playing with friends on a yacht or something. And I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, yeah, so this is cool. We're getting to, I started getting kind of really involved in it. And I was like, oh, hi, how are you doing, and things like that. And, when I was going to school and all that. And we started getting serious with like serious talk. So I started telling like basically, although I'm not sure what I'm looking for in the future, I do want kids and I want to, meet somebody I want to get to know and, for looking for something more serious and this is how I am. Like I'm really open and I don't like to play around and things like that. So he was like, wow, really just into me like, wow, you're really cool. So he talked about kids and things like that. And I told him, well, if you are thinking about kids or something in the near future, how does that work when you're in the military? And he was like, well, my family lives out in California, and it's not a problem. Like if we were to be involved and if we had kids, my mom would be out there and we could always help each other out. And I was like, oh my God, like this is really cool. I was like, you're in California too? So I got really excited and we started talking about more serious things like my beliefs and all this blah, 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 back and forth. So almost I think a month went by and I was like starting to wonder like, okay, can I see a photo? Can I see a video or something? And he just was kind of more secretive. Like he's like, okay, I will send that in the future. And I said, I need proof that you are who you are. Like I need something. And he was like, yeah, just be patient with me. I'm going to work on that. Like right now work is crazy, and things like that. He said he was in another country. And I was like, oh, where? And in some African country. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I was like, I want to get to know, like, what country are you in? And he was like, Nigeria. And something kind of went, uh-oh, but I just kind of let that go. So later on, he asked me like, I said something about where I lived in California, and he said, oh, my mom lives out there too. So I was like, what? Really? So everything kind of that I said kind of matched, with me. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. So somebody who lives near me also, and this and that, like this is might be heaven sent. Like I'm meeting somebody. Um, so later on, yeah, we started doing that, and I was like getting like, oh my God, like I'm meeting somebody that lives near me. Like later on, we could meet or something. So I was like, yeah, one day we're gonna meet when you get back. Like I can't wait. And he was excited and blah blah blah. So later on, yeah, I think he asked me. He said, oh, he was gonna get some kind of a payment that was coming in. From I think from for his for being in the military. So this thing was coming somewhere in the US, I guess. So he said, oh, he just needed like an address or somewhere to send it to. So I gave him my friend's address, a PO box, so that way I was safe. I didn't give my information. And he kept checking on me. He was like, did you get the package? Did you get the package? And I'm like, what is going on? So pretty much I got the package. I didn't tell him that I did. I was kind of like trying to mislead him to see how he would react. So he started getting very impatient with the package. And I was like, okay, it's coming. So the package did come and it came in and it was a check that of almost $3,000. And I was like, oh my God, what the heck is going on? So I was like, oh, he's actually serious. He sent me something. So it was just weird. And I was like, okay, he was like, oh, just take the package and maybe go to Walmart or something, or deposit it into your account, and then you could take some of the money. And I was like, oh, really? So I was like, yeah, you've been really nice. I want to get to know you. I want to, get you nice things and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, just take the money. And of course, I told him, I was like, you know what? I don't want any part of the money. That's your money. Like, okay, I'll get it. And whatever you need done with it, I'll do that. So later on, I looked at the check and something about the check didn't look right. It looked like a piece of paper. Like it didn't, the printing was not well. Like I've seen checks and I was like, this does not look like a questionable check. So later on, I Googled stuff about how to tell a fake check and the check was basically fake. So I, of course, went back to chat with him and I said, the check I got from you it doesn't look real. He was like, oh, of course the check is real. Just put it in your bank account and send me the money through Western Union. So when I heard Western Union, another red flag went up. I was like, Western Union, I've heard a lot of stuff about Western Union in the news. So I totally, like, my blinkers were just going crazy. Like this, oh my God, what's going on? So I find out that basically he was really, I told him, I know what's going on. Like, you're trying to scam me and things like that. I'm definitely going to be blocking you. And he was like, no, 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 I'm not doing that. I'm really into you, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to scam you. And he kept going and he started getting agitated. Like he was getting mad at me. He was like, oh, fine. If you don't trust me, we don't have to talk and things like that. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. excuse me, I'm giving you my time here. Like, I don't even start with me. So he was like, yeah, I'm not giving you a fake check. I swear it's real. Just go and put it in the bank and send me a share of mine and you can keep the rest. And I was like, wow, you really trust me that much that you would give me your check? And there was so many red flags, guys. I'm not saying that there was no red flags here, but at the time, I got emotionally invested in the guy. I started really liking him and wanted to get to know him. And I was young and kind of stupid at the time, and I didn't really think anything of it. So I was just like, oh well, who cares? Until the money thing started getting in, I started the money thing came in, I started going, oh, something's not right here. So I started Googling all this information. And then one time I even Googled a passage that he sent to me, like talking about like a poem or something. And I Googled it and that poem came up a million places. And I was like, oh my God. I asked him and he was like, oh, I wrote that for you. This is not fake. Like, why would you think I was trying to scam you? And before I know it, I was just like, oh my God, all the red flags that I was having, everything was adding up. And before I knew it, I was like, I've been scammed, and I just told him, I was like, you know what? Good luck to you. Like, I can't believe you tried to scam me and things like that. And he just was like, oh my God, I still want to know you. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, please, let's talk about it, blah, 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 blah. And then another thing that I noticed throughout the conversation, when he got into like a month or so, I noticed that his English was changing. He was speaking more like somebody who was from some African country or some European country. So I was like, how did he change from being a US person to having this English that looked so British and something else? And I was like, wait a minute. And I asked him about that, and he was like, yeah, because I've been staying in Africa for so long, like, I'm picking up the way people talk, blah, 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 lies. So, yeah, later on, I just basically was like, I'm blocking my account. See you later, and whatever. So the funniest thing happened is later on, I was on another website that I had signed up for because I signed up for many dating apps. I don't know why. I was just curious, really, honestly, guys. At the time, I was like 20 something, and I didn't really care for anything serious. So I signed up and I looked and I found the same picture online, and I was like, OMG. So I sent him a nasty message and saying, oh, you're really trying to scam somebody else. I see you on another site. And he never responded, and things like that. So basically, yeah, I got scammed. I almost got scammed. And thank God I didn't put that check in the bank because I would have been going to jail, um, and things like that. So I just want to warn you guys out there, like, be careful. There's people out there who've just figured out how to scam people, and they're so good at it that you think, you're just going to be meeting an awesome person, blah, 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 blah. There's stuff all over the news now. So just really watch out because you just never know. Anyway, that's the end of the story, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.